episode is about trying to figure out how being a woman. No, you are not behind. Unfortunately, we have bought a specific program from the rest of the world, albeit maybe it was handed over to you by your parents. The standard of the society that tells you at a certain age you must do this and have your kids and have a picket fence house and buy a Lamborghini at the age of 40 years old. I mean, all the things that we thought that these were important, and fast forward as we're living now, we realize that these things are not that important really. So these are the things I could tell you when you're in your 20s or you're still starting your life. These are the advices that nobody really told me. It's a matter of trial and error. These are my personal experiences. And I'm thankful for those experiences because I am the woman that I am today. When you're in your 20s, you are still scrambling and trying to figure out who you want to become in this world, what kind of life you would like to lead. Of course, I did not get married at the age of 29. I was a late bloomer. I was not one of those typical women or little girls who had their wedding dates planned and how many guests are they going to attend on their wedding, or this is the kind of a house I'm going to live in and how many kids. I was not planning to be married because I grew up in a family of a broken home. At the age of 12, I told myself that I'm not going to get married because some men are the same as my dad, that he's just going to leave me and find another woman and I'm going to live with his kids and raising 4 kids on my own. So I had those fear. And of course, you just think to yourself, if you're not going to believe in love, then what's the point of living? This is why I have decided to get married very late, because in my early 20s, I had fun. I promised myself that I'm not going to get married until I had fun. When I was in high school and somebody said to me that we're going to date, and after we graduate from college, we're going to move somewhere and we're just going to have kids. And I was actually afraid because I told him I'm not ready yet. And he was already proposing to me at the age of 18, and I was in high school and he was in high school and we were a long distance relationship. But those were the things that really scared me as a young girl, thinking to myself that I need to have fun first. So if you're in your 20s, you learn to have fun, not to get pregnant, of course, because that's a different story. Because if you're a pregnant woman and still going to college, then how can you possibly have fun and have the responsibility? So when you're in your 20s, make a lot of mistakes and really live your life. I was really privileged and honored to be able to live on my own at the age of 23 for 7 up to 8 years. And I had to really understand what to do with my life, what kind of things I had to learn, which are finances. Those were the times when I got kicked out, and I don't want to get into detail. It was so hard because there was a drama going on in my family, and it was living with my dad's side, and I couldn't really get into the details of why it happened, but it was something to do with my uncle, and so it forced me to become an adult. So, mind you, I was in my 20s when I got kicked out, and I had to figure out how to live in this world and how to navigate life. And at the same time, I was going full time. I had a job, and I was also decided to go part time at nighttime. So those were the times that I was really tested in how to grow up. It forces me how to make some meals and how to prepare meals. Those were the times when I also struggled with narcissistic abusive relationship. And as you can say, that my life was nothing but a hell. It was hell from the start. It was something that truly I was tested and forged in the fire. If you think about really living my life right now, I can say that my life right now, the difficulties that I'm facing is nothing. It's not as worse as I had then when I was in my 20s. Let's just say that. So just first of all, being thrown out into the world and you have no direction, you have no supervision, you're practically still trying to figure out what the heck are you going to do with your life. So the fear, of course, is relevant. The fear is something that I had to deal with. And at the same time, when you have faith, and I only live in prayer so much, and I thought to myself, okay, this is a test of my faith, and also it was going to test of my maturity. So I had to look for an apartment, which I bought. I mean, I saw an apartment and I lived there for at least 7 years. that's when I decided to really hone in into my financial skills that I was not really still good at even to this day. But at least I promised myself to pay off all of my bills. I live paycheck to paycheck, like most probably people until to this day. And I accumulated at least 25,000 worth of credit card debts because I was living in my credit card, because I was barely, saving. I was spending, because when you are struggling financially at the same time you are traumatized and you're going through your trauma, there was so much going on in my 20s that I thought I was not going to survive. So not only was I dealing with my trauma from my abusive dad, and then at the same time I was also figuring out how to becoming an adult, and at the same time I did not know that I was getting involved in another narcissistic abusive relationship. So my life was nothing short of drama. It was nothing short of craziness, and I was going around trying to survive, and it was something that I had to really deal with myself, finding who I want to become. And I did not realize that until later on in life. So in my 20s, I also learned how to have fun, made a lot of friends, hang out on the weekends, went clubbing and karaoke at nighttime. And I also went to college. As I told you many times before on my channel, these were my defense mechanism. These were my crutches. These were my band-aids, because I didn't really want to deal with my past. So what did I do in my 20s? I feel like I was a bird fully free from out of the cage. I could do whatever I want. I could finally just live however I want without person telling me what to do. But my finances were struggling. But with God's grace, he was able to provide for me financially. I don't know how. It was a time that I said I went to the library and searched some books on how to budget. So if you could tell your younger self, and if you're in your 20s, you should learn about finances, how much you're making. These were the basic things I have to learn. How much income you're taking home after the tax. This is the gross versus the net income. So the net income is after your tax payment. And then you subtract your variables and your fixed expenses, figuring out how much you have left over. So